Hello, this is Sad here, and welcome to the 2020 rundown for Marvel Legends. So 2020 is finally over, thank God, and we had a lot of Marvel Legends released. There was 126 in total, which is huge. That is a huge number of action figures. I'm not going to total up how much it would have cost to get them all. Bunch of store exclusives, con exclusives, Build-A-Figures, vintage cards, all kinds of stuff. And overall, I purchased 52 of them. Which is ironically a really special number for DC. Maybe that says something. And actually it does say something, because the reason why I got less than half as opposed to most of the line is because I just got a little burned out. As much as I do love Marvel Legends, I have been in it for I think 8 years now. I have so much Spider-Man, so many Spider-Man figures, because what I started with. But now my focus is more X-Men, Fantastic Four, some Avengers. I barely bought any Spider-Man stuff, but we'll kind of go over that. But essentially, yeah, I didn't buy as many figures this year. A couple reasons. In addition to all that burnout was DC Multiverse from McFarlane Toys got really good after its first wave. I'll be doing a video on that. G.I. Joe Classified was something. We'll do a video on that. Power Rangers Lightning Collection also ramped up heavily. We'll be doing a video on that. And I bought barely any Star Wars figures. It just happens. Sometimes toy lines are a little overwhelming. Transformers is really hard to keep up with because there's so much, and there's so much I want, but yet it's just so consuming. And then Marvel Legends, there's a bunch I want, but I really got picky this year, and I think it's just because I've been so heavy into Marvel Legends for so long. That's kind of what I want to talk about here. I think as much as you do enjoy a toy line, when they're pumping out 126 figures a year, you got to get picky because that's a lot. That's hard to keep track of. And then when other stuff grabs your attention, like those DC figures, or I got back into buying Kamen Rider stuff again. I'm looking at my pile of Progress keys glaring at me. So there was just a lot. 2020 was an insane year for toys and action figures. So I just didn't buy as many Legends. So hopefully this doesn't take away from the video. I do want to still discuss the line. I'm going to go figure by figure like usual. Again, most of it's going to be figures I didn't buy, but I still comment on them and maybe the reasons why I didn't buy them. But if it starts getting broad reaching, then I'm just going to not try to specify figure by figure. For example, I didn't buy any MCU figures this year. None. Not a single one was MCU. I got a few of the Fox X-Men, and I got movie Venom, which are technically not MCU. So no MCU figures this year whatsoever, which, I mean, there wasn't any MCU movies this year either, so there wasn't a whole lot. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, I didn't even buy all the X-Men movie stuff, but we'll kind of talk about that. I do want to keep it concise. I don't want this to be 4 hours long, because it could be. So, if I gloss over something, leave a comment down below if you want my more detailed thoughts on a figure. If you're really concerned of why I didn't get a certain figure, or you want to know more about it, just leave a comment. I'll kind of just answer more there. I want this to be a broad overview of the line without too much heavy criticism or critique, but still have my own personal touch to it, because this is a video I am producing. So therefore my opinion is going to be projected onto everything I do. But I'm going to have some fun with it. And this year I've actually implemented a rating scale more appropriately. So in the past, figures I bought, I've rated 1 to 5, as 1 being the weakest, 5 being the strongest. This year I actually have specific word tags, so you can kind of get an idea of where I'm at with these ratings. So a number 5 is going to be everything I wanted and more. So it's a figure that exceeded expectations completely. A 4 is going to be totally met my expectation, exactly what I thought it was going to be, no surprises. A 3 is could have been better, could have been worse. It's real mid-ground. It's essentially the figures that, yeah, there's stuff I'd improve on it, and there's stuff that could have been definitely worse about it, so it kind of runs sort of mediocre. 2 is completely underwhelming. That's just when it didn't meet my expectation. And then 1 is total garbage. I don't know if there's any on this list, because I didn't buy too many that I thought would be total garbage. But yeah, so 1, garbage, 2, underwhelming, 3, could be better, could be worse, 4, everything expected, and 5, everything wanted and more. So with that being said, we're going to run through the entire line and do a quick top 10 at the end, and probably do a quick collection tour, and that'll be the whole video, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's begin. Mr. Fantastic starts us off here. Fairly good figure overall, though I wish it had better stretchy options. His arms still come off, just like the Walgreens one, but they just gave him the weird rake fingers. Overall, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5, just because he didn't excite me. Sue Richards, on the other hand, a lot more exciting. The Invisible Woman here is in a very nice, new, sleek costume, just like Reed, but I actually really like the new head sculpt. It kind of gives her a really cool, fun vibe. In addition to that, she has a really nice energy effect to replicate her force fields. So I'm going to give this figure a 4 out of 5. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, this time not in his flame-on state, just Johnny himself, which is really nice to see. I overall like the figure, though I wish they gave him more flame effects. It did feel like just the hands and the little flame wraps was kind of lacking. So overall, 3 out of 5. The Thing is pretty nice. This is one of the greatest figures that's ever been released in this line, and it's presented here with a new belt and an overall new deco, and I really like it. The new head, the new hands, it's pretty nice, though I wish there were some options, so I'm going to give him a 4 out of 5. This new She-Hulk is from a comic run I wasn't a big fan of, but this figure is incredible. Fully new sculpted figure, brand new parts, wonderful paint detail, just all kinds of awesome. I have no complaints whatsoever, so I'm going to give her a 5 out of 5. Doctor Doom, my favorite Marvel character of all time here, is incredible. I think as one of the greatest villains in the Marvel Universe, he finally got a figure that was worthy of him. He got the articulation boost that he finally needed, and that intricate detail was a mold unique to him. 5 out of 5. Super Skrull is a Build-A-Figure I was really looking forward to, and he did not disappoint. While reusing parts from other figures, which does make him a little archaic in some senses, he has really cool, awesome features, and I love the swappable arms that just make this the cherry on top for a really great wave. I'm going to give him a 4 out of 5. Next wave, we have Spider-Man in his spider armor from Marvel's Spider-Man, the PS4 game. Now, this is a figure I didn't pick up because I'm mostly just tired of Spider-Man variants. Apply that to the Spider-Man Velocity suit, which, from the same game, also just tired of Spider-Man variants. So this one looked really nice in particular. Vulture is a classic Spider-Man villain that I have the ultimate version of, just decided not to get the classic one. He had a lot of problems with the wings, and that kind of just turned me off the figure. Superior Octopus is a more recent character, and while I do like Doc Ock characters, I just didn't feel like picking this one up. Just wasn't catching my interest like I thought it would. White Rabbit is a pretty obscure villain to pick, and I'm kind of impressed that they threw her into the line. And I'm glad they did, though it wasn't enough for me to pick up the figure. Shang-Chi, the star of an upcoming MCU film, did get his first release in a Spider-Man wave. I might circle back and get this guy later. He does seem really cool. And Demogoblin was sadly a Build-A-Figure I wanted to buy, but just couldn't convince myself to spend the $120 on the wave to get him. Just wasn't worth it. First Ultimate Rider of the Year was Squirrel Girl, coming with a Vespa and a couple squirrels. Nice looking figure overall, though I think the face was a bit weird, and that ended up just passing on it. Cosmic Ghost Rider, despite being a big Ghost Rider fan, I'm not a fan of Cosmic Ghost Rider, mostly because it's Frank Castle, and I'm not that big of a fan of the Punisher, so that was that. Black Widow, based on her appearance from the Black Widow film that has yet to release in theaters, was an easy pass for me. I have Black Widows for the MCU. I just generally don't buy MCU. Taskmaster is the same story. Not typically buying MCU figures unless I see the movie first, because then sometimes I get surprised. But without seeing the movie, I have no idea. Same goes for Red Guardian. Kind of see how I ended up passing on this wave in general. It was mostly MCU based, and I'm just not collecting MCU anymore. Ironically, Yelena Belova here is going to debut in a Disney Plus show prior to the film coming out, so maybe I'll pick her up. I don't know. Time will tell. Now, a figure I did get was the Winter Soldier. A comic book version of Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldier is something I've wanted for a long time. Unfortunately, this figure did disappoint. From molded-in gun holsters to really wonky articulation, I'm going to have to give him a 2 out of 5. I know nothing about Spymaster. Actually, I know a little bit about Spymaster because I had to look up who the hell was Spymaster when he got announced. So I'll give him that credit. Crossbones is a classic Captain America villain, yet just wasn't one I was really interested in having on the shelf. Got Hydra dominating the Captain America section. And Crimson Dynamo was another Build-A-Figure that I thought about getting, so I thought he looked really cool, but ultimately just couldn't bring myself to buy the whole wave. Build-A-Figures just burned me out. Our first deluxe figure of the year was Black Widow in her white costume from the Black Widow movie, with a really cool stand and a lot of cool effect parts, but something I didn't need ultimately overall. The other figure was Stan Lee, as featured in Marvel's The Avengers, his cameo at the end as a chess player in New York. Really nice rendition of Stan. I think this was one of the most default appearances, and overall I'm going to give this figure a 4 out of 5. Iron Man, from his appearance in the Marvel's Avengers video game, didn't interest me. Neither did the game. Didn't play the game, didn't buy the figures. Wasn't a fan of the design. Same story for Captain America. As you can see, there's kind of a theme here. It's just, I wasn't interested in the game, so therefore I wasn't interested in figures from the game. Though I gotta say that getting Miss Marvel out there again was a good idea, as her previous figure was getting harder to find. So for those that missed Miss Marvel, this is a great way to pick her up. Rage is another character I knew nothing about, except for the fact that people wanted him. I think he's part of the New Warriors, but that's a team I know nothing about. Mach 1 is also a character I didn't know existed. Also found out later he was a Beetle. Yet I didn't feel like I needed to buy him for all the amounts of Beetles we have in the line. However, the leader was definitely on my wish list. This classic Hulk villain finally comes out. Reusing Reed Richards' body was smart, gives him a nice build and look to him. And once I took off that stupid yellow vest, he looked so much better. 3 out of 5. Captain Marvel. The Marvel version of Captain Marvel here is one of the figures I wanted so badly, and after the character got wiped from existence in the comics, basically, and got downplayed in the MCU, I wasn't sure if it would happen, but it did. He's an excellent 4 out of 5. Abomination from the video game is that same story again. I just wasn't interested because it was based on the game. It is a nicer looking Abomination than the last Build-A-Figure. Weapon X from Age of Apocalypse was something I didn't need. I have a lot of Wolverines. This is not one of my favorite designs, and I did not want to dedicate a whole shelf to Age of Apocalypse. I did, however, pick up X-Man. X-Man being a character that crossed over to main Marvel after Age of Apocalypse, and overall a character I fairly like. So it was nice to get this figure. However, he's just kind of standard Marvel Legend fare. I'm going to give him a 3 out of 5 because he didn't really surprise me. Morph is another character from Age of Apocalypse that moved over, and it's nice to see him. I really do like the way they sculpted the head, gave him a nice cape. He looks really good overall, but again, standard Marvel Legend. Didn't even have any accessories, so 3 out of 5. Wild Child is another standard Marvel Legend that was a character that moved from Age of Apocalypse to the main universe, and I hope they make Sabretooth. There's enough room for an arm to fit in that chain, and by golly, they better do it. So overall, a 3 out of 5. Dark Beast, however, did surprise me. I thought I was going to like this figure because I love the Beast mold, but the head sculpt on this figure just sells it completely. I'm really, really amazed at how good he turned out. So overall, 5 out of 5. Jean Grey is another character, alternate universe version of a character that was in the Age of Apocalypse, and I think I've said enough there. I just wasn't interested. Same goes for Sunfire. I do think he turned out a lot nicer than the previous Age of Apocalypse Sunfire Marvel Legend. It just wasn't on my radar. And Sugarman is the Build-A-Figure I didn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole because I absolutely despise this character, and I didn't even want any parts of it, which is why I bought the other figures loose. Next deluxe figure is Apocalypse from Age of Apocalypse, which is a good alternative to the Build-A-Figure in case you missed it, but something I didn't need because, again, too much Age of Apocalypse burned me out. War Machine, however, was what I wanted. It's everything I wanted. I love the blaster effects, even if it makes them kind of hard. I didn't want to pull them off the shelf because I have them very precariously perched behind my Avengers. But this is the War Machine I always wanted. 5 out of 5. Next up from the Vintage Spider-Man wave, we have a new classic Spider-Man. Looked really nice, looked really cool. Just decided not to get it because I have so many Spider-Man. Peter Parker was tempting, though, as it's a new character, but I'm just running out of room for Spider-Man characters. I have a whole dang Spider-Verse on the shelf. But this was really nice to see civilian characters. Especially Gwen Stacy, with an alternate Mary Jane head that just looks really strange because it's kind of Gwen Stacy's classic death outfit, which also is kind of a little morbid. Electro's a nice update to the Sinister Six villain, and yeah, I thought about it, but just ultimately didn't go for it. Same reasons as Vulture. This Green Goblin, though, I avoided with a 10-foot pole because his eyes are horrifying. I do like the Norman Osborn head, but those eyes, they stare into your soul. Those yellow eyes. And Armored Daredevil. I have enough Daredevils. I think I've got like 3 at this point, and I picked the black one as my shelf Daredevil, so I didn't need this. If Cosmic Ghost Rider is a pass because it was Frank Castle, then this is a pass because it's Frank Castle. I like the Punisher enough to have a figure of him, but not enough to get more. So next up, Blue Deadpool. Almost said Daredevil again. Yeah, this is a pretty cool figure. It's kind of like his X-Men colors from when he was really officially on the X-Men team. And I'm glad to have him. It's a variant I was looking for. Overall, 3 out of 5. Pirate Deadpool could have been a lot cooler, but his coat just got in the way of all his articulation, and he just feels a little stiff and rigid for some reason. So really fun, wacky character, but as a figure, 3 out of 5. Warpath, one of the iconic X-Force team members, is finally in the line, and he looks amazing. He's really tall and impressive. He's using the Omega Red body, I believe. And man, this is just such an excellent figure. I can't say anything bad about it. 5 out of 5. Sunspot is the figure that should have been made a long time ago when these energy effects were made, because this is how his powers actually look like. I'm surprised it took us this long to get him, but I'm really happy we did. He overall is a pretty great figure, 4 out of 5. Black Tom Cassidy, a character that we probably got just because they made a joke of him in Deadpool 2. I kind of forgot the character even existed until that point, and he's been popping up lately, so there's reason for him to exist. However, the figure's kind of bland, so I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. Maverick, one of the classic 90s X-Men characters that we didn't have, and he looks so 90s it hurts. And it hurts in a good way. He's overall a fairly decent figure, though he has some weird articulation limitations and some stiffness that makes him feel about a 3 out of 5. Jeff the Landshark made it into Marvel Legends, and he has a pack-in figure named Shikla. I don't know who Shikla is, but Jeff the Landshark is like totally worth the price of admission here. He is a 15 out of 5. He's a good boy. Strong Guy is the Build-A-Figure of this wave, even though the wave is mostly X-Force and Deadpool. But man, this X-Factor team member has never looked better in an action figure, and I am so stoked. He is amazing. Total 5 out of 5, no contest. Kicking off the next Avengers wave is Falcon, another character I really wanted a comic version of. I had a couple movie ones by this point, but no comic version, and they finally delivered. It's not exactly classic, it's not exactly modern, it's somewhere in the middle, which works for me. This is what we got, and I'm going to take it. And overall, 3 out of 5. King the Conqueror is incredible. A fully new sculpt. This is showing the extent that Legends can go. Him and Doom are 2 of the coolest figures of the year. It's nice to get these really classic villains in these great looks and give them the treatment they deserve. 5 out of 5. I don't know anything about Thunderstrike. I'll know a little bit more after researching him, but yeah, kind of a neat looking figure, just not something I needed, and I wasn't collecting the Build-A-Figure this time. Jocasta, the wife of Ultron. That's all I know. That's it. I don't know anything else. I'm not spending $20 on her. Captain America's stealth suit from the Marvel Avengers game. Same story as all the other Gamerverse figures. I just wasn't interested in the game, so I wasn't interested in the toys. And this Atmosphere Armor Iron Man doesn't look bad. It's nice that we get a blue Iron Man every once in a while, but yeah, nothing too spectacular to mention here. And the Build-A-Figure is Joe Fixit, but it's Hulk's skin of Joe Fixit from the game, so it doesn't match the comics, so I'm kind of expecting a gray Hulk, proper Joe Fixit later. Hasbro roped me into Spider People with Venomizing them. Venomized Ghost Spider from Spider-Man Maximum Venom, the TV show. Looks pretty good, but uses the old Spider-Gwen body, so a little wonky in places. Overall, I'm going to give her a 3 out of 5, though it is a really cool look. Venomized Miles Morales, basically the same story from the animated series, also featuring the same old mold as before, but, you know, it's not too bad overall. I'm going to give them a 3 out of 5. The only thing I wish with these two is that they had some more accessories. Absolute Carnage absolutely surprised me. I thought I was going to be so bored with a third Carnage, but this is actually the best Carnage. Articulation improvements, fully sculpted vein details, totally the coolest Carnage I have ever gotten, and he is going right on the shelf. 5 out of 5. Phage. This was the figure I was most looking forward to of the wave because he is part of the Life Foundation symbiotes. I'm collecting those. I'm looking forward to them making them all. And here we got another one. He looks amazing, and he actually surprised me with how cool his blade arm effect was. 4 out of 5. Morbius here in his Edward Scissorhands 90s goth look is pretty cool. It actually did replace the classic Morbius on the shelf just because it is a little newer, new, fresh look to him. But overall, it didn't surprise me, so 3 out of 5. Venom from the movie. Yeah, I bought a movie figure. This one comes from a movie I like. I really do. I really do like the Venom movie. I'm sorry, anyone that doesn't. I really liked it. And this figure is just awesome. He's tall, he's impressive, he's got great articulation. 5 out of 5. And the Build-A-Figure that made me get all of this, Venompool. You put Venom and Deadpool together and you get money from me, apparently, because I fell for this so hard. I wasn't going to buy the Wave, I was just going to get Phage, and then this is the Build-A-Figure, and I was in. 5 out of 5. Kicking off our anniversary line for the 20th anniversary X-Men is a Wolverine I skipped. I didn't like the paint applications, didn't like the head sculpts, felt like it could have been a lot better, and just passed on by. Mystique is a character I would have bought if there was more figures in the line. There was a surprisingly low amount of actual characters from the movies in this movie anniversary line. I did, however, pick up Domino, because I loved Zazie Beetz' portrayal of Domino in Deadpool 2, and I'm so happy she made it out as retail and a single pack. A figure that is featuring the new pinless technology where the joints are like seamless, looks really nice, and I gotta say that I'm really happy with this figure overall. Absolutely a 5 out of 5. Deadpool is part of a 2-pack with Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and a bit of an underwhelming one. I really wanted to like this figure, but unfortunately with his limitations in terms of, you know, his guns being glued in his holsters despite having a 14 plus in the box, he's a 3 out of 5. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is actually a lot nicer. Coming in that 2-pack, this is a character I did, you know, kind of discover through the Deadpool movies, so it's nice having the movie version. She is going to live on the comic shelf until the day we get a comic Negasonic Teenage Warhead, which may never happen, but 4 out of 5. Magneto here can be either the Ian McKellen or Michael Fassbender versions, but isn't accurate to either due to all kinds of problems. And the same thing can be applied to the Professor X, which can be either Patrick Stewart or James McAvoy, but again, doesn't line up. I just feel like they kind of half-assed this 2-pack, and so I passed it by. Old Man Logan here got a nice update. It's more accurate to the original comic as opposed to his more modern incarnations, and he does have that nice Hulk baby. And he comes in a 2-pack with Old Man Hawkeye, who looks really great. These figures look good. It's just from a storyline I don't care for, and therefore wasn't really interested in picking up. Though I'm surprised they were retail releases. Kicking off the Amazon exclusives is the tank top version of Wolverine from the X-Men movies. This is the Wolverine I wanted. The gritted teeth is probably the best looking head that's closest to Hugh Jackman, but the articulation is really great, the details are great, the claws are nice and straight. 5 out of 5, great figure. The 3-pack featuring Nimrod was actually kind of a surprise. I really like this figure though. Nimrod, of course, being the Sentinel from the future. Really cool character design. I love that I have a classic head and a modern head and a ton of accessories. Absolutely 5 out of 5. Phantom X coming in that same pack. Great update to a character I really wanted, even if he has the same jacket, which does pull him down a point. But overall, I really have no other complaints. He's got the cool new gun effects with the blast and the smoke, and overall, 4 out of 5. Rounding out that pack is Psylocke in all black. This is actually a nice update to Psylocke. It's got her black costume, but I like the energy effects having a purple tinge in addition to the pink. It has a nice color gradient. So overall, I'm going to give her a 4 out of 5. The theme of this year's fan channel exclusives is repacks. Monster Venom has been repainted and repacked in a classic color scheme for all of you that missed the Build-A-Figure, which is nice and appreciated. Storm is now in the black costume, which is the white costume figure repainted in the black costume, but I'm still waiting for the silver. Beast is now in gray, which is one of his older looks from the 70s era of Beast. It's kind of the time he was on the Avengers, but something I didn't need in my display. Mysterio, if you missed him the first time, this is a much better version, much more classic colors. Comes on a nice vintage card, but I didn't need him. I already had the previous one. Kingpin, if you missed the Build-A-Figure, this is probably even a nicer one, going for a more classic Kingpin look as opposed to the more modern of the Build-A-Figure. But I have the Build-A-Figure. Modern Rogue here is a nice addition to the line. Been waiting for this figure ever since the canceled prototype from like 8 years ago, and it's nice that she's out now when the figures are much better. More updated articulation, more modern look. Absolutely a 4 out of 5. Rogue came packed with Pyro. Pyro is a little bit more disappointing. Because of the lack of accessories that match his specific powers, that being manipulating fire as opposed to wielding fire, the Fire Fists aren't doing it for me, and it leaves him very limited, so 2 out of 5. Monster Toxin looks pretty cool. I kind of forget this figure existed, and I might go back and pick him up later if I can ever find him on a discount of some sort. And Doctor Doom here is based on his first appearance with the nice cloth collar, and I like this figure so much I bought it twice. And I gotta tell you, most of the reason why was because of the vintage card being the 90s Fantastic Four toy line that tied into the cartoon as opposed to the silverback. 5 out of 5. Black Cat here was scheduled for 2021 but did slip into 2020 by a long margin, but a nice update to the 90s look, better scale. And J. Jonah Jameson rounds out the set with Peter and Gwen as civilian characters, and it's nice to see, and I hope they'd continue to do this, but not for me. The sole GameStop exclusive was Outback Hulk from the Avengers video game. I didn't want this, and apparently no one else did either. It stuck around for a while. Hasbro Pulse introduced the concept of army builders, reissuing the Hydra Trooper as well as the AIM Scientist in $15 packs that could be bought as evergreen items. They also offered the Hellfire Guard for the first time in this same format, but he did sell out quick. The Hellfire Club box set was originally scheduled for San Diego Comic-Con, but was later released as a Hasbro Pulse exclusive, featuring Emma Frost here, now in her more classic white costume. This is more based on Dark Phoenix Saga Hellfire Club for the most part. This is a nice update to Emma, 4 out of 5. Sebastian Shaw bringing in a new body mold and some new accessories, including the Book of Hellfire. Really nice looking figure overall, really great look, but some really weird feet that make him hard and to balance, so it makes him a little unstable. 4 out of 5 on him. Using the same mold as Shaw is Donald Pierce. I like the options to have metal hands or human hands, gives him some different looks, but overall same issues as the Shaw mold, so stability, that's a 4 out of 5. Though his head does look like a human version of Heat Miser. And lastly, we have Jean Grey as the Black Queen from the Dark Phoenix Saga, or the alternate head option of Selene. I opted to go for Selene just to have character variety. If this mold could stand better, her and Emma would be 5s, but they are 4s. It's just those dang heels. Logan from Logan, as well as Charles Xavier from Logan, were a 2-pack that I passed on because this movie makes me sad. And lastly, we had Silk, who was part of a fan poll that included Sif, a character that was exclusive to a 6-pack before. I think it should have been Sif, but Silk's neat, I guess. This year's Marvel Unlimited bonus is Miss Marvel wearing a Spider-Man costume. That's neat. Starting off the long list of Target exclusives is Red Hulk. Saw this coming as soon as they made green and gray in the same year. Really happy with this figure, though he was a pain in the butt to get, having to drive to different towns. He was a bit of a pill, but totally a great figure, 5 out of 5. Next up is Black Widow from the Deadly Origin comic. Great look, I like the head sculpt, but I have a Black Widow that I'm really happy with, so I'm not really needing this one. Starboost Iron Man from the Avengers game. Again, goes into that same pile of Avengers game stuff, though this is a different look armor, which I think is nice that we got those. Storm here, as featured in her first appearance from Giant Size X-Men, as well as her 70s costume in general, is absolutely phenomenal. Brand new mold, pinless technology, alternate heads, alternate capes, alternate hands, the whole works. This figure is 100% amazing. And the unfortunate part is she was in a 2-pack. So while Storm's a 5, Thunderbird is a 1. I'm not even going to get to the actual figure here. You can see the problem of his shoulders to his head is such a poor ratio. The overall figure is just so boring, and he has like no accessories. All the money went into Storm. Spider-Man the Negative Zone is another Spider-Man variant. It's kind of neat. It's cool. It's black and white. That pizza's kind of funny because it's black and white pizza. And Cyborg Spider-Man, same deal. Though it's nice to see the web effects come back, because I think more Spider-Man need web effects more so than hands, just to give some variety in the mix. Gambit got reissued in new brighter colors, as well as a new head, and repainted cards that actually look like cards this time. This is really nice, because I think the previous Gambit was good, but the head was definitely not the best, and this is definitely an upgrade. And I've said definitely too many times, 4 out of 5. Rogue here definitely needed an upgrade because the Juggernaut Wave 1 is long gone and so expensive online. Having both, I definitely prefer the new version. The brighter colors is nice, and the new head is really great, and I love the gloved hand. So overall, 4 out of 5. Kicking off the Walgreens exclusives, we had the Stepford Cuckoos from the X-Men. Actually didn't get these at Walgreens, I got them from Big Bad Toy Store because they had to be reissued before I could actually find them, which was crazy. 3 different head sculpts for the 3 different versions in this costume. 4 out of 5. Overall, pretty solid figure. Iron Man 2020 was appropriate for this past year, and it's nice to see him come out. I like that he came with the blast effects that War Machine came with. Moon Knight is pretty dang cool, more classic look. I still like the modern one with the armor though, so I think that's where I was at, and I saw this guy a couple times and ended up passing. And Silver Centurion. This is one of the more popular Iron Man armors. I'm surprised it took this long to make it, but I'm really glad it came out, even if it was something I'm not personally buying. Walmart had a Black Widow in her gray costume from the 90s look, I think, in the Avengers. Cool looking figure, just didn't need it. I have a Black Widow I like. Venomized Captain America kind of is a nice pairing to Miles and Gwen. And yeah, it's kind of weird. Walmart gets a lot of Captain Americas, but this one looks cool. And lastly, Cable from Deadpool 2. If I had ever found him in store, I probably would have picked him up, but otherwise I'm not going to stress it. I was much more interested in Domino and Negasonic Teenage Warhead in the end. In the top 10 Marvel Legends of the year, my personal picks are number 10, Venom. Number 9, War Machine. Number 8 is Captain Marvel. Number 7, King the Conqueror. Number 6, Red Hulk. Number 5, She-Hulk. Number 4, Strong Guy. Number 3, Storm. Number 2, Venompool. And of course, number 1, Doctor Doom. Putting down both of them just because they're both great. Overall, a great year of Legends, I think, for a lot of good variety. We had characters from across the Marvel Universe. And these are my 10 personal favorites, not necessarily just the 10 best scores. I really like these figures that I got, and I'm not too sad that I missed out on a bunch of them. I think that it was a good year to kind of pick and choose, have a little bit more cherry picking than usual. But overall, yeah, I think this is a pretty solid top 10, and I hope that Legends continues to improve, because I like it when it's hard to pick the top 10 figures of a line, because that means the line is strong and healthy. So doing a quick collection tour here, we're starting off with the Avengers. They're getting top shelf billing just because there's a lot more this year than I thought. New additions like Captain Marvel and War Machine and Falcon are ones I've been wanting for years, so it's really starting to feel more complete. If anyone's wondering who my favorite Avengers are, it's these guys right here, both Hank and Scott as, ant people, having specifically like Wonder Man here, and Hercules, and Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk, this kind of costume of Black Panther, that costume for Spider-Woman, that look for Iron Man. It's very much becoming exactly what I wanted. I like having all 3 Captain Marvels here, just kind of having all these characters I like into one dream team of Avengers. I also started adding their logos above, just for fun, kind of cool stuff, just take off the packaging. But yeah, this is very much my ideal Avengers team here. And I don't really think of anybody that's missing at this point. I think this pretty much covers it. The only thing I'd like is like a 3 foot tall, or however it would fit here, Giant Man. That's it. Like, otherwise, all the characters I really love are represented, which is really cool. Of course, Deadpool here crashing the party with Lady Deadpool, Dogpool, Squirrelpool, and Headpool. They are just there because they don't fit anywhere else. Speaking of not fitting anywhere else, X-Men villains, characters. The New Mutants are here strictly because Warlock is here, and they're Juggernaut and Onslaught and Sauron and Nimrod, who's new this year, as well as this Sentinel with the Days of Future Past Wolverine. I do want to confess I did purchase the HasLab Sentinel, which will probably be going right there, but we will see that next year in next year's video. So I have a carded Doctor Doom, like I mentioned. It's kind of hanging right there. Still have Ghost Rider and Vengeance on their bikes. We have the new Fantastic Four display. They were up above. The up above is now McFarlane DC Multiverse. So everything had to kind of shift, which led to some problems, but here's the main Fantastic Four with Namor and Stan Lee. New addition, along with Sue's new effect piece, pulled from the modern one. Over here we got Black Bolt, Medusa, and Silver Surfer. They kind of go with the Fantastic Four, but you can start seeing the X-Men domination here. Emma Frost, along with the Stepford Cuckoos. So we got them. Over here, giant-sized X-Men, which is mostly complete. Still like to see a Banshee, and the new Marvel girl, even though she is House of X themed, is going to go in here, just because that'll fit the style. Here we have the 80s X-Men. I think all of these figures previously existed. They're just reorganized. Moving right along, if we can get the camera to focus, yeah, X-Factor. X-Factor, yes, Outback Dazzler was not part of X-Factor as far as I know. And yes, Cyclops was on a different X-Factor team. They just needed a place to go, and this seemed most fitting. Move over here to X-Force. This is specifically 90s X-Force, which we added Warpath, who fits nicely in the back, as well as Sunspot. Moving over here, new Gambit and Rogue took the place of the previous Gambit and Rogue on the shelf. This is like the first half of the 90s X-Men, and the second half. X-Man is here just because he did a lot of crossover stuff. But other than that, pretty similar. So moving down along, here's the modern X-Men. I'm going to shine a light in here, just so we can get kind of a overview. There we go. Of course, Bearded Colossus. Blue Deadpool's here, as he's an X-Men. We got Modern Rogue up front. Negasonic Teenage Warhead, like I said, is going in the display there. It's maybe too much light. Got an old Zorn back there. And I moved the original Gambit here, just because he sort of fit the modern look, at least in the darker colors, and Rogue needed a Gambit. Here we have Modern X-Force, way in the back there, probably just hiding. Good old Dakin. Really want a new one, but that's what we got. Same with Hope, two figures that need updates. Phantom X finally updated, sort of just X-Force, Cable, that kind of characters. Moving along here, we do have Pyro and Black Tom are new, but we have a Brotherhood of Mutants going on. Black Tom, again, just kind of here because he can. And using that empty helmet that came with Donald Pierce, I think, in the Hellfire Club box set, made a nice addition to that Magneto. And then we've got assorted X-Men villains. Maverick is just kind of here because he really had nowhere else to go. Vengeance's head is going to rear here. Back there is Apocalypse and Caliban. Of course, Age of Apocalypse characters. These are the ones that, I don't know, just kind of grouped them together. I mostly was just picking up Age of Apocalypse that were characters that existed in the main universe, so they may get shuffled around. Really hoping for the Age of Apocalypse. Sabretooth. Nothing new in Alpha Flight, just updated to be Alpha Flight in a different pose. Here's the Hellfire Club shelf. I got room for those Hellfire goons whenever they ship from Hasbro. Hopefully that is maybe earlier than March. And the Deadpool shelf, which now has Pirate Deadpool, Shikla, of course, Jeff the Landshark, and Venompool. Venompool is taking up like half the shelf, and it's kind of cool. Just nice to have a whole shelf of Deadpools. Down here, we start to get into the problem of taking out two shelves from this display. Namely, the Gray Hulks over here. The Guardians and the Asgardians are all kind of mixed together now. Way in the back is like Adam Warlock and Genevieve and Space Venom. They're just wherever they could fit. Same thing here. We've got a mini Champions display, sort of. And then some Spider-Man way in the back. Like UK and Spider and Otto's back there. So you kind of see you've got more Spider-Man. I don't think I added anybody new to this display. I think this is all older figures. Symbiotes and Shield agents and European heroes. Speaking of symbiotes, Phage and Carnage. That Carnage did replace my old Carnage, which is kind of impressive. Back there we got Shield agents, so like Mockingbird and Agent 13. And the European heroes, there's Bucky. And nowhere else but Bucky, so he just kind of hangs out with them. And then the Marvel Knights, which the Marvel Knights is just pretty much everybody. I swapped out Morbius for the new one. Who's back there? Luke Cage back there, Misty Knight. It's just kind of getting to be really messy. You got Ghost Rider. And the Sinister Six, I legitimately forgot about them when making the shelves. So they're here now. Until I get some kind of solution to this problem. So I decided to separate all the villains over here. You can see Abomination's back there. Hela's back there. Malekith, you know, the goods. I don't think anybody else here is new. Actually, nobody's here really new. Anyways, moving on, past the CDs. This is some assorted villains. So we've got, you know, Hydra Man back there. Prowler's back there. Bob the Hydragoon. Armzola. Baron Zemo's new. Even though he's not a new figure this year, I finally got one. You know, put the Superior Foes here, moving up a level. We've got, you know, the new Red Hulk. Everybody else has existed before. Oh, Super Skrull. Yeah, Super Skrull's new. But there's that, but then the big thing is the top shelf, because we have the new Doctor Doom, the new King, the Leader, just putting in 3 iconic villains into this. We've got, you know, old Ultron, can't wait for the new one. Green Goblin's up here, Dormammu. There's my Skrull Giant Man, which we have seen before. We've got Thanos and the Black Order. Yes, they're the MCU ones, but no, I don't care. It's the only Black Order we're getting. And then there's Galactus. This Galactus is the Marvel Universe one. I got this for Christmas in 2020, thanks to my dad for buying it for me. He found it at a comic shop. It is a holy grail item. He just looks absolutely amazing with these villains. He's big without being, like, gigantic. We might get a larger one somewhere in the future. You know how HasLab is these days. But I just love how much he fits in here. And, you know, the best part...
To me, my herald.
Talks. He's not a new figure this year. He's about 10 years old, but boy, does he look good here. Really good. And lastly, the first appearance, Doctor Doom, they're holding the Darkhold, goes into the collection of Dooms. Doctor Doom, as I think I've mentioned before, is my favorite Marvel character, so this shouldn't surprise anybody. I've picked up every figure I've come across for him. And this is everybody besides the one that's on the main shelf that isn't far away. But yeah, so the Doom collection grows, and I'm really happy we still have more Dooms coming out. So hopefully we'll get that white Doom. The white cloak would look really cool. But that's the collection. So that does it for Marvel Legends in 2020. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like down below, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. The other rundowns this year will be for G.I. Joe Classified, Power Rangers Lightning Collection, as well as McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse. So stay tuned for those throughout January, and stay tuned for future videos for other properties and brands, and maybe some more stuff that's not just straight reviews. I think I got some ideas cooking in my head, and hopefully you all enjoy it. So be sure to stay tuned, and happy 2021. I hope this year is better for everyone out there. So until then, be sure to check out our graphic designer Darkclaw on Twitter, Darkclaw643. Check out HeroClub at hero-club.com. Until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.